In the fourth episode of Andor, we got to take a little trip to Luthen Rael's Antiquities shop, and it is chock full of Easter eggs. Lots of fun stuff to pick out, and today I'll go through everything I found. The one I was most excited about was Starkiller's Sith Stalker helmet, which you can find near the back of the shop. Galen Merrick, also known as Starkiller, was the secret apprentice of Darth Vader in the 2008 video game The Force Unleashed. That game is no longer canon, and Vader did not have a secret apprentice, at least as far as we know right now. In the dark side ending of the game, Starkiller winds up wearing a set of Sith Stalker armor, which includes a helmet that looks identical to the one seen in Luthen's shop. So does that make Galen Merrick canon? No, let's not get ahead of ourselves. As of right now, this is just a cool-looking, ancient set of armor. I expect it will still be classified as Sith Stalker armor, which were basically Sith assassins that had armor cybernetically grafted onto their flesh and bones. My next favorites are the stone tablets over on the left side of the room. They feature 3 hands in various positions and are a reference to Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars. In the Star Wars Rebels Season 4 episode Wolves and a Door, Ezra Bridger, who is going to be important to the upcoming Ahsoka series by the way, finds a mural of 3 beings on the Jedi Temple at Lothal. The beings each have their hands matching the positions of the stone tablets in Andor. Those people first appeared in the Mortis arc of the Clone Wars. Mortis was a mystical realm that contained the power of the Father, the Daughter, and the Son. The Daughter was a manifestation of the light side of the Force, the Son a manifestation of the dark, and the Father kept the balance between the two of them as they endlessly battled. As the Father's power diminished, he summoned Anakin to Mortis to become his replacement, but ultimately all 3 beings died. Luthen's stone tablets are almost certainly related to Mortis in some way, and they're a very cool inclusion to see in live action for the first time. I don't want to get ahead of myself too much, but Ahsoka has continuing ties with Mortis as well, so it's possible we could learn even more about that realm in her series next year. For another Star Wars Rebels reference, we jump over to the other side of the shop to find a Twilight Calicori. Those items first appeared as family heirlooms in the Season 3 episode Hera's Heroes. Each new generation would add their own pieces to the item as a visual representation of their own legacy. The shape was reminiscent of the Twi'lek species to Leku or headtails. The Calicori in Luthen's office seems to be highly ornate, so I would expect it belonged to royalty or someone of importance on their homeworld Ryloth. On the pedestals in front of the Calicori, you can see a couple Wookie artifacts. I think the helmet with the fin and scale-like armor is meant to be at least similar to a helmet worn by a Wookiee named Salporin in Revenge of the Sith. The horn-like instrument in front of the Calicori is a Kashyyyk clarion. It was made for Revenge of the Sith but never shown in the film, although it was still included in the Revenge of the Sith visual dictionary. It was a bantha horn covered in bronzium that was used as a musical instrument and a communication device. Right next to the clarion is a very deep cut. I doubt many of you would recognize it, but that's the armor from a very obscure culture in Star Wars called Mandalorians. They should honestly make a show about them. I think it would be very popular. But seriously, I think it's cool that Luthen has a set of Beskar armor on display, showing that it is extremely valuable and rare to outsiders. It makes that scene in Season 1 of The Mandalorian where Din walks into the cantina in his full, unpainted, brand new suit of armor that much more impressive. If Indiana Jones were in that bar, he probably would have screamed about how Din belongs in a museum. Speaking of Indiana Jones, I think there might be some fun references to that franchise in the back room. Luthen has some items stored in carbonite, which by itself is a fun detail. One of them appears to be a whip. I can't say for sure, but Star Wars and Indiana Jones have a long history of referencing one another as far back as Raiders of the Lost Ark. Star Wars even has their own version of the Ark of the Covenant, and I swear if that somehow appears in this show, I will flip my lid. I don't think I could handle my 2 favorite franchises crossing over to that degree. Over on a shelf in that same room, you can see what might be 2 Sankara stones, the treasures Indy seeks in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Again, it's too hard to tell for sure, but I like the possibility. Right next to them are 2 Holocrons. Holocrons were storage devices used by the Jedi and the Sith and required a Force user to access them. The Jedi Temple had an entire vault full of them. The cube is a Jedi Holocron and the pyramid is a Sith Holocron. They were first created in the Legends comic Dark Empire back in the early 90s. The Clone Wars brought them into canon in the Season 2 episode Holocron Heist, and since then they have appeared in several other stories. I believe Star Wars Rebels gave us our first look at a canon Sith holocron. The ones in Luthen's shop look a little large, but we have seen that they can come in a variety of shapes and sizes. I will say, between the holocrons and the mortis murals, some of this stuff seems dangerous for Luthen to have, especially on display. The Empire did their best to erase the existence of the Jedi Order and anything related to them. I'm kind of expecting this series to just let that go in favor of letting fans like me have fun pointing it all out, but I do think it would be cool if it became a plot point, if the Empire winds up kicking his door in and takes a bunch of his stuff, or maybe Luthen's cover has some connections with the Empire, or maybe he bribes people to let crime slide. Whatever the reasoning, I think there are a number of possible explanations to get around that. Luthen gifts Mothma a tablet featuring what he describes as a two-faced divinity, a sun goddess and a serpent from the overworld that share the same mouth. This is new to me, but I wanted to point out that I think it has a couple of symbolic connections. It could be one culture's interpretation of the Force, two entities that are inherently connected, the light side and the dark side, one benevolent like the sun goddess and one more sinister like the serpent. It also makes me think of Palpatine, a politician who appeared kindly and helpful for decades, but was actually working to take more and more power for his entire career. It's also kind of representative of Mon Mothma and Luthen in this very scene, smiling and appearing happy in public, but hiding their true intentions of rebellion. Back in the main room, the first item Luthen pretends to offer Mothma is an Udpowan monk cudgel. I don't think we've heard of that item before, but it does feel sadly appropriate that it's in a wealthy collector's estate, even if it is all a cover. Udpow is where Obi-Wan Kenobi defeated General Grievous in Revenge of the Sith, and where he was nearly killed during Order 66. You can see the clone troopers moving to occupy that planet, rounding up Powans immediately after the battle there. It doesn't surprise me at all that valuable items from the planet would have made their way to Coruscant in the years to follow. A deactivated Gungan energy shield is in the back left corner of the room. They were used in the Battle of Naboo by the Gungans against the droid army in the Phantom Menace. I'm not sure why it would be part of this collection. It's not like it's an ancient weapon, or maybe this one in particular is? Who knows? Near the shield is what looks to me like a serpent statue with two Rancor heads. I'm completely speculating here, but since Rancors are from Dathomir, I wonder if this is a Night Sister relic of some kind. Just like the Powans and the Imperial occupation there, maybe Dathomir was ransacked after the Night Sister massacre seen in the Clone Wars. Twitter user @KikaFedQ pointed out to me that the piece is inspired by real-world Aztec art of a double-headed serpent made out of turquoise. This one is tough to make out, and I probably would not have caught it if it hadn't already appeared in some promotional footage, but there is a Keldor mask on one of the displays. The Jedi Master Plo Koon was a Keldor, and his species required masks that would allow them to survive in oxygen-rich atmospheres. I don't think this mask is specifically Plo Koon's, because I don't think it would be in such good condition after, exploding. But I think that's everything I recognize in Luthen's shop. I could speculate more. For example, the shield in the back might be a stylized representation of the Bindu from Star Wars Rebels, which would be cool. The giant cauldron up in the front could be used for Sith magic, but I don't know. The three white pillars are kind of driving me insane. I feel like I've seen them before, as well as this gold necklace thing. Maybe it's Sigerian. They feel familiar, I just can't place them. So I'll just stop talking now. What a fun scene. I loved the execution of it all. I knew there were a bunch of fun things to pick out, but I couldn't even remotely pay attention on my first viewing because the dialogue was so engaging and important. That's how it should be. Make us go frame by frame after the fact. The Easter eggs are all very fun, but they're not the story itself. Anyway, that'll wrap things up for today. Let me know if you recognized anything I didn't in the comments, especially if it's those three pillars. What are you? If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for all our Andor coverage, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page for our video reactions and audio commentaries for every new episode. And you can check out this playlist for all of our existing Andor content. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.